Weekly Power Standard and Lecture Video Introduction. So this is a short video that goes through the process of what we're going to do every week as we cover these 10 power standards that we are going to be working on. So let's get started. So what is a power standard? Well, during the final week of the semester, you're going to be taking the English 2 ELC, which is going to assess your mastery on a set of literary skills or power standards. Now, the ELC is going to contain samples of both literature and informational text that you'll be required to read and answer various questions on. Now, there's two types of text and two types of power standards. Power standards for literature text and power standards for informational text. Now, typically some teachers try to cover all of the power standards every time you read a specific text. We, however, take a step-by-step approach, teach you time to learn and master each of power standard skills and strategies, and then we attack the text. So, what's step one in this process? Step one is where you view and take detailed notes on the Power Standards lecture video. Now, 90% of the time, that's going to be done via Edpuzzle. In the beginning, we try to watch the lecture videos in class to make sure you have a good handle on it, and then eventually will lead to outside of class. So the video is always going to be in Edpuzzle. And the videos typically are about 7 to 10 minutes. And your job is to take detailed notes on this lecture video. Also, at the same time, coming up with very important points that you can write down to remember for later. So let's talk about some tips for lecture video success. The first tip is never mute me. Most of your quizzer questions, which we're going to get into in a moment, stem from what I say, not what you saw written. A lot of students will mute me just to get through everything, but they miss the most important parts or the most very important points because I'm saying them and you have me on mute. The second step is don't be afraid to rewind. If you miss something or you can't hear anything, please don't be afraid to rewind so that you can get the information that you missed. 3, know when to pause. Some of these lecture videos, I am in the video. And so you want to make sure that you pause me so that so you have a clear, unobstructed view of what's on the whiteboard. Step 4, always write the VIPs, very important points. In most lecture videos, I have very important points. So the legwork is already done for you. In some lecture videos, I don't give any very important points, so it's up to you to figure out those very important points. Step 5, don't be afraid to fast forward. If it's something that you know or you get the gist and you feel like I'm just rambling on a little bit, sometimes I do, don't be afraid to fast forward to go to the next segment. Step 6, when I model, you watch and recreate. I do a lot of modeling of the steps that I want you to create actually in the lecture video. So when I model, make sure you are writing down the process I'm going through because it's the same process that I want you to go through when you actually attack these texts. And then step 7, rewatch, review, and compare. Rewatch the video if you need to. Review your very important points and compare notes with a neighbor. So the next step is, once you've watched a lecture video, you're going to take a quizzer to assess how well you've taken notes on the lecture video. The quizzer will be on the lecture video itself. Now, make sure you take this quizzer very seriously because the quizzer score will be factored into your final grade. Now, it's typically a pass or fail, means you get the question right or you don't. So you want to make sure that whatever question you're asked on the quizzer, that you have enough information from the lecture video to complete the task. The next step is pre-assessment activities. As a class, we're going to do a series of online interactive activities and hands-on activities that are going to help you practice the strategies you just learned in the lecture video. We typically have about 3, maybe 4 online video activities and 2, maybe 3 hands-on activities. Once we're done with those pre-assessment activities, it's time to take the formative assessment. The formative assessment will always be on Kia. It's typically about 10 questions, at which point you have a certain score you want to hit. Now, there are 3 learning categories that you'll be placed in based on your assessment score. You could be considered a level up. That means you score 80% or more. That means you have a good speed and a level of mastery of the power standard. A boost me up means that you need a little bit more review and a little bit more practice. A not quite there yet means you still need some one-on-one instruction and then additional practice to help you master that skill. Now, all of this is going to be taking place in one classroom, which is where we go to time to show mastery. Now, depending on your level, you'll be given a series of 3 to 4 activities that you'll have to complete to demonstrate mastery. Now, there's a total of 6 activities. Everybody will not have to do all 6 activities, but each activity will get you one step towards mastery. Now, the last step you'll take is a summative assessment. That's the final assessment that you'll take to determine your overall mastery of that power standard. From there, this is where I calculate your grade. I take your Quizzer score, I take your summative assessment score, and I take your overall completion of the power standard, the 4 power standard objective activities you just did prior to taking the summative assessment. And then I give you a final grade. That grade is what will go into the grade book. Now, that individual grade you'll get every week, and it's worth 45% of your overall grade in the class. The last activity you have to do is what's called a gap. A gap is a goal achievement product. And all it really is a written assignment that uses the skills you've learned in the power standard. So that's pretty much what the weekly power standard process will look like. First time around, we go really slow. And then as it becomes repetitive and consistent, you'll kind of get the gist and the idea of how the process works. All right. Have a good day.